Danielle, let me know if this works. Okay.
Yeah.
You see it? I don't see you seeing it.
So, Rabbi, every time you open the live broadcast, you just say, live from Houston?
You might need that tripod. Okay. Okay.
Said Houston, I have a problem.
That was fast.
Okay, we have 8 people watching.
Woo! Woo! Austin?
And I'm sure one of them is Tzvi and one of them is Danielle. Okay, welcome everyone. Let me get this computer out of the way. Okay, so this is a really, really good class. And I would normally not ask people to get their phones out of the way because I am not one to give lots of credence to myself. But when others speak, then I'm usually careful to give them the respect. But I really want to give over this content well. Tzvi, I would love to see you, so let's get that box out of the way. If anybody wants to use that box after the class, they're more than welcome to. So I would love to give this over. A lot of this you've heard from me before, and I think it's fundamental to life. Okay, the title of the class is Raising My Bar. How does faith enable me to maximize my potential? Raising my bar. How does faith enable me to maximize my potential? Looking around the room, we all want to be the best. We want to be the best in our relationships. We want to be the best in our jobs, and it doesn't always seem to work. Sometimes we are let down in our relationships. Sometimes we are let down at work. Sometimes we are let down at home, in our societies, in our communities. There's a lot of factors in the world that are working against us. And the question is that if we believe that there is a God, and we believe that that God is good, then hopefully what that then means is that the intent is for God's creations to have a means to live a happy and productive life. Boom. Any questions or arguments? And feel free, bring them all out. Tzvi? Can I just bother?
No,
running?
that's not why I'm
Thank
smiling.
you so much. What?
That's not why I'm smiling.
No? Okay.
I mean,
Because you've heard this
because
before.
I agree.
Huh?
I agree.
Okay, so that's good you agree. But the question is, it seems to evade us very often. So we're not Jewish just because, right? We're involved in this religion partially because of the tradition, but because our families have been staying true to it for all these years. I guarantee you, true, not true, other religions, Judaism, if after all the suffering that Jews have been through, we still find reason to be Jewish, that's already enough of a reason to look into what the religion has to offer in terms of meaning and fulfillment. And I think all of us, the fact that we're all here tonight really says already about us that we believe in this concept that, you know what, I think we'll stay Jewish. I think we'll be Jewish. It's got enough going for it. My family saw fit to go through it even with all the suffering that we've had. Let's stay in this religion. So the question is, what is it that we have in our faith? Could be the following ideas that I'm going to present are true in other faiths. But being that we're Jewish, let's discuss what Judaism has in it that make it possible for us to live as fulfilling a life as we can and as we want. Fair enough? Yes, Chaim.
Laws.
Laws.
Yeah, that's one of the foundations of the Jewish religion. I mean, other religions also have laws, but I feel like one of the things that defined us as Jews is because that we have so many laws and we're not trying to break them or bend them, and we're trying to obligate them. That's what makes us so unique, unlike other religion that they trying to bend the rules a little bit. That, for example, I know from our own experience, I read a little bit about that Christianity created as trying to be a lighter version for the Jewish religion, so it'll be easier to get closer to God. But just because Jewish religion is more stricted with the laws, that's what makes it so unique. So you have to obey the laws that God had put in front of you, so you'll be closer to God. That's the whole point of the law.
I agree with everything you just said, and it's definitely true. The question is like this. If I find a Jew doesn't know much about Judaism, and they're feeling down and out, they're depressed, they're suffering in their emotional state, relationships, work, and I tell them, hey, Judaism's got everything you need. Laws. Right? They're going to be like, heck no. I don't want more restriction to my life. I don't want more laws to my life. I have enough going for me growing up. A lot of times, a lot of the suffering that we face has to do with our experiences as children. I remember when I was in Kollel becoming a rabbi, they brought in this professional counselor, and that counselor was teaching us as rabbis how to be rabbinical counselors. We are not certified to be therapists. We're not certified to prescribe. We are listeners. And when we have an insight, especially a Torah insight, to help enhance someone's life and we can give guidance, we do so. But it starts with listening. Now, this counselor, I'll never forget what he said. He said that any issue that we face as adults is sourced in legitimate pain, which we experienced perhaps as children through no fault of our own. So if there's an issue that we have in relationships, in work, with our friends, whatever it is, right? Yeah, yes, Miriam? Oh, I thought you were going to ask something. Right, so that often has to do with a certain pain that was never brought to the front and was never addressed. That's what therapists are really trying to do, is finding it, extracting it, and dealing with it and addressing it, right? So all of us, whether we've ever been to a therapist or not, there exists some level of legitimate pain that has been there since we were children. It could have been in the realm of our schooling. It could be in early jobs early on. It could be difficult parenting. It could be traumatic experiences. We walk around with this. So you go to a Jew who's having these issues. We got laws, right? I'm not saying that that's what you were trying to say, Chaim. I'm not trying to say that.
No,
Ultimately,
that's not the
no. I know. But Chaim, I want you to know that ultimately, at the root of a lot of what I'm going to be discussing tonight does have to do with that. Okay, I'm just changing my settings so that my computer doesn't flick off every 2 seconds. So a lot of it does have to do with loss. But where does that come from? Where does that come from? So let's go through the title. Raising my bar. How does faith enable me to maximize potential? We have to talk about why we want to raise our bar. Why? Let's just continue. Maybe our life was intended to be living like this. Everyone else is having this life. Everyone else is having these struggles. We're part of this club of people that are suffering. They're suffering, I'm suffering. Why raise the bar? So that's question number one. We're talking about raising the bar. Who says we should raise the bar? Let's live with these issues. After all, there's good times, there's bad times. There's bad times. Let's embrace them, and that's it. Maybe yes, maybe not, right? How does faith enable me to maximize my potential? What's faith? And why should faith come into the equation? What's my potential? And why do I want to reach this potential if there is such a thing? Okay? So what are your thoughts?
Well, actually, faith is what actually enables you to be able to raise the bar, because raising the bar just means pretty much going above your reason, whatever reason is what you have at the moment. So the simple desire for something that is above your own reason, that is called faith, and that is why it is such a pragmatic thing in Judaism, and why it's so important inside of everyone's life in Judaism, because the definition of faith is pretty much wanting to attain something that is above you.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Yes, Boris.
Raising the bar. I feel like we all have an inner desire to be better than we are today.
Speak a little louder.
We all have a desire to be better than we are today.
Okay.
And so I don't know anybody who wants to just sit around and keep doing what they're doing. The whole point is to, well, I don't know anybody who wants to sit around and keep doing what they're doing. The the whole point is
Not in the
to,
baby, not in our generation, the white generation.
You're part of it, you know.
so.
Put it this way, if you have, yeah, sorry, finish your point.
And so the whole point is to be better than the day you are before. I guess the best way to explain it is to have non-zero days. When you have a day where you don't improve in anything at all and you're just lazy.
Right.
So
The best thing.
the theory is to compound getting better like 1%, and after a year, you're like 300% better than you were a year ago.
Okay, you're telling me what people want. You're not really explaining why people want that.
It's a drive inside you.
What, one second. What's the drive for it exactly?
To strive for better.
What's better? Better is what?
The
What's
unknown.
better?
Things you're not comfortable
Striving
with.
for the unknown?
To stretch out and be uncomfortable.
To stretch out and be uncomfortable. So we're seeking uncomfortability.
Yes.
We're seeking to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
No,
That is the only way you get growth.
Yes, but no, like it's more than
You are
just that.
seeking growth, but people don't realize that
Don't
growth
be
comes through
uncomfortable.
Okay,
uncomfortable.
we're seeking growth, but people don't realize that growth requires being uncomfortable. Okay, why are we seeking growth? And what does growth mean? What is growth?
Can I give you
Yeah.
I can say it from my own experience. When I was in the Army, my commander used to say, if we're not moving forward, we're going backwards.
Okay.
And I think it's true about everything, even in technology, business, relationship, everything. If you're not keeping the pace, the world is moving on. And you see that many examples that people and companies that stayed behind and decided not to develop themselves, they just disappeared. Nokia, for example.
Yeah.
They just came out.
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster.
My dad's company.
I mean,
No, Blockbuster did not pay attention to Netflix and they died for it.
Nokia.
My dad's company produced video cassettes and audio cassettes, and he was doing very well for 20, 25 years, and then just like, boom. Like he sold it, and that was when they made Aliyah, which I guess that's why Hashem made things happen that way, because Hashem wanted my family to be in Israel, and if the business was successful, there's no way they would have left it because it's making money. But yeah, I agree to what you're saying. I've heard that before. Imagine walking up a downwards escalator. If you're walking against the tide, you have energies playing against you, right? If you want to become an elevated individual that's aiming high, you have to fight the descending track. And if you stop, then you're automatically going down. I've heard that analogy before. But I want to get a little bit more specific with definitions. Take a guy who's got a wife, he's got a family, he's got a mansion, he's got financial stability.
If you got to mention.
What does such a person need? Why does such a person need anything more? Why do they keep working?
that's human nature.
Right? What's the human nature all about? Why?
You always want more, right?
What?
You have-
There's someone who's like,
Well, maybe he can turn spiritual because he has enough stuff.
What do you mean?
Just a thought. If he has all the money and stuff he needs, he's going to look for something different because.
Can't be
So it's
buried
either
with the
spiritual or drugs.
Well, no, it's like when you
The
don't
problem
have enough
is-
money to eat,
Yeah.
all you want is food when you're hungry.
Mhm.
When you're underwater, all you want to do is come up for air. So when you are financially stable and you have money where you don't have to think about money anymore,
Yeah, but
what is
you're,
the next thing
you're
you're
talking
thinking about?
right.
You're thinking about spiritual.
Right, you're talking idealistic, and I agree with you. That is an aspiration, but that doesn't seem to reflect reality necessarily. Have any of you ever seen a cute 70-year-old couple bickering?
No.
Never? You've never seen a husband and wife
Yes.
fighting
I never
almost
have.
obnoxiously with each other? Get off! You always do that, you know? And like, go home, Marsha. You know, it's like, where does that come from? You know? What happened? They've been married 60 years, right? Presumably, one of the goals in marriage was to blossom that relationship. People that are wealthy. I know of a very wealthy one who's about to be extremely prominent, okay? Right? And famous and powerful. You can have all the money in the world, and you're expressing the same flaws. So you have everything, but you're still what you were. You can have in this world 60, 70, 80-year-olds that are exhibiting the same immaturities that they did as teenagers. What is going on?
No one
So
told them about
what is it that prompts us to grow? Because clearly there are many people in the world that are living their lifetime unhappy, not successful in their relationships, but materially they're doing just fine. So materialism is clearly not the answer. The question is, why aren't they achieving what they want?
I think everyone has their own reason why they want to grow.
Maybe they weren't taught the right way. Maybe they don't know how.
Maybe they
Somebody
not.
who's in the third world doesn't know, how do I, doesn't know how to drive cars because they never had to drive a car. Like, that's normal to us. We don't think about it.
You walk 10 miles and carry back like 3 gallons of water with you.
Right, I can't, exactly. So I haven't been trained to do that. You can just not know how to do it. Maybe no one taught you. Maybe no one told you that's the way it's supposed to be.
Okay, when a person wants to make money, what does he do? He goes to college. After he goes to college, if he wants to make money, what does he do? He goes to get a job. What does he do once he got a job to make more money? He tries to go for a promotion. What taught him to do all those steps? You learn. You find out what you want, and you discover what needs to be done to get there. The problem is, I don't know, it seems like for a huge percentage of the world, successful inner emotional happiness and stability and relationships is eluding people. And the question is, if they wanted that as much as their financial success or whatever other, materialism that they are after in life, many of them for decades, then one would think that this world would be a happier and better place. Is this making sense?
Maybe they don't want it.
Danielle?
Yeah.
Is this making sense at all?
Maybe they don't want it.
I want to hear your thoughts.
I think it goes back to the first question you asked. So you asked, if somebody, doesn't know about Judaism, what would you say to them? Well, to me, Judaism is connection.
Okay.
Right? It's a very
It is
connected-
connections.
It is. You can't pray without people. It's not a religion of unity. Or I'm sorry, of
Individuality.
It's a collective. You have to have a group. You have to. There's only so many things you can do within the laws that you can do alone. So much of it you have to do collectively.
That's a good point.
And through connections. And I think it's that same connection that brings us to wanting a higher level. You have a connection to the people around you, so you want the next level of connection, which then pushes you to a connection with God, or a connection to the community, or a connection to those less fortunate than you. And because that's the basis of Judaism, that's where the education comes in, and the it goes from there. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of people is they don't have that next level. They're happy with the wealth, they're happy with what they have, or they're happy with being lazy and complacent. That's fine with them. It works. They're good. There's no next level. And I think that's what kind of sets Judaism apart, is it's based on the idea of making that branch and that network.
Okay, that's a beautiful thought, and I can support that idea with the fact that the commandment to honor one's father and mother is largely based on training ourselves to have a relationship with God, right? And loving another human being. The Torah says, "Ve'ahavta l'orecha kamocha," you will love your neighbor and your friend, which is an idea of using one's free will to choose to see the beauty and the positivity in another human being, can be equally used in having a relationship with the Almighty, looking at what's good and what's beautiful in my life. That works well with your definition. So I like what you were saying. Ultimately, what Judaism is saying is that you don't want to be missing the boat. You don't want to spend your life looking for pleasures that are so far from what you could really be achieving. Okay, I'm going to repeat that because that's so important, okay? We're going to get to laws. Laws have their place in that system. But at the core of that system is that we have a God, that God gave us the Torah, and that Torah for us is the means of achieving that greatest degree of fulfillment and elevation in this world and closeness to the Almighty in the next world. And everything then falls into place. And then everything has its place and purpose. Okay? So, again, we're looking for a way to maximize our fulfillment and productivity in life, and we want to discuss how we find that in the realm of Judaism. Okay? So what does Judaism tell us? Going back to the ABCs, and I've said this in previous classes, but this is something that I say in every class, and it's really worth going over again. Okay? What does Judaism tell us? Judaism tells us that the world has a creator, and that creator is infinite. And that creator that is infinite created a space for there to exist finiteness, for there to exist something with limits. Why? God didn't need it for God. God didn't need it for his creations. Why did God do it? So there are different perspectives to answer this. The explanation that I've heard that satisfies me the most, which I'll share with you, is, and I've said this again, I've said this before, but I'll say it again, is that for an attribute to be true, it has to be expressed. If Yair has never given a dime to anyone, then Yair is not generous. He may have the potential for generosity, but if he hasn't expressed that in action, then that generosity is fake. It's a potential. Potential isn't reality. The same thing goes with the Almighty. The sages tell us that the Almighty is not only infinite, but the Almighty is therefore perfect in all of God's attributes. Included in those attributes is the attribute of goodness. The expression of the goodness of the Almighty is the creation. Creation was something that God did out of the goodness of God's perfect attribute. But even that would not have been perfect goodness if we were simply living an existence of robotics. If we were just living without a means of feeling like we make a difference, then the world would be like a world of animals. Imagine a world full of just animals, no human beings. It would be like a project. It would be like a program. It would be like a computer program. Computer program is nice, but I assure you the program doesn't appreciate you having created it. Boris, please correct me if I'm wrong, and I hope I'm not. Okay? Yeah, I know you're in computers. Can a program express appreciation for having been created? Right?
I doubt it.
I doubt it, right? The program is there to fulfill a function.
You can program it to pretend.
Okay, to pretend, fine. That's getting deep, right? But
5 years from now, maybe.
Maybe.
It could be a program
It's
that's
still
not to
people
appreciate
pretend.
that.
Even if you ask Siri, do you like me?
I
He
didn't
said,
say
like,
Siri, but
Siri's not
I believe
artificial
that
intelligence.
but it's
it
also
will
it's
be
also a
intelligent.
program.
Yeah,
It's a program, but it's not.
it's a program. It's only recognize
You
your
should tell
voice.
Siri to talk dirty to you and see what she says.
Program can only do
we
what
are
it-
on Facebook Live.
You could answer. She's
Yes.
I'm not that kind of fool.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't understand that.
The program can only operate within the bounds that you gave it.
Correct. So what's so special about the world is that we have creators. God created creators. The greatest thing we can have in this world is an opportunity to be like God, to be godly. When we are creating a business, that's godliness. When we are having a child, that's godliness. When we are creating a painting, that's godliness. Everything that we are doing that emulates the act of creativity is partaking in the greatest thing that God could have done for us. He didn't just create us. He gave us the ability to create. He gave us that ability to make free will decisions that have an effect. Okay, so where am I going with this? What does that have to do with us, right? So now, if you take a look at the Mesilat Yesharim, you take a look at Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, who writes a whole step-by-step process of how mankind can achieve wholesomeness, can achieve completion, which is what we're all looking for. The Rabbi says in the Mesilat Yesharim that God really, in fact, created the world, not for our existence in this world, but for our existence in the next world. God created two worlds. Olam Hazeh, this world, and Olam Haba, the next world. And Olam Haba is that location where we are going to enjoy an extreme level of closeness with God, something that we cannot possibly experience here, even though we do experience that sometimes in this world. We are going to experience it there. Now, how do we get there? How do we achieve that closeness? So that's where Chaim's concept comes in of laws, except that they're really called mitzvot. Mitzvot are commandments. They are found in the Torah. God gave us a Torah at Mount Sinai that has in it 248 positive commandments and 365 negative commandments. What that means is that those things that you cannot do, those things that you can do. What's the significance of those things? Right? Somehow, involving ourselves in those activities makes us more wholesome human beings. Some of them are self-understood, like many in the Ten Commandments, right? Not murdering, not kidnapping, right? Loving one's fellow. What? Yeah, lo tignov is not kidnapping. Even though it literally means not stealing, the rabbis tell us that the Ten Commandments, when it says lo tignov, it's actually referring to kidnapping, right? Yes.
When you say do not murder, how do you describe it? Self-explanatory or something like that? No, a minute ago you said
Don't murder.
Some of them are.
You can see the merit of them.
right. Before
Right.
when we were talking about
Yeah, the Holocaust.
no, I forgot we were,
Ethical relativity, moral relativity. Yeah,
That's some heavy theory.
it's true. If a person doesn't have God and a person chooses to not believe in God, right, then there's no such thing as an absolute morality, and then there's no right for anyone to tell me what's right or wrong. If there is no creator and there's no one that has decided on the rules of the world, then there's nothing stopping anyone from doing anything. And you see that in certain cultures and in certain countries and in certain religions, there exists this lawlessness of survival of the fittest, or I will kill who I want to kill, I will be with whoever I want to be, and there's no one to stop me. Right? Yes, Boris.
Isn't that a little closer to nature?
What's closer to nature?
Survival of the fittest. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying
I'll agree with you that plays better with our baser physical natural instincts. That I'll agree with you.
I don't think it is closer to
Right.
nature.
Animals.
It's made human nature, but look at animals. They don't kill each other just for fun. They don't kill each other based on some stupid idea.
they
Right.
kill each other for stuff and mates. They do it all the time.
For stuff.
Yeah, but they
Food.
kill each
And
other
they don't mate with other species.
Yes.
for
I'm not
eating.
saying we do either.
Yes.
Not killing each other.
Yeah. For
Some do.
resources. Yes, they do that.
But they don't mate with other species, and they mate for the same reason we're supposed to.
Right.
And they kill for food, for survival. They don't go and kill like humans do. Just why not?
What?
They don't make each other fight just for entertainment, like gladiators.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think what Boris meant, or I'm going to put what he said in a Jewish context, and I was getting to this, is that because we have free will only works if there is an equal balance of forces playing this game of life. There are forces of spirituality which have us seeking to do good, seeking to create positive relationships, seeking to elevate ourselves, seeking to create a relationship with the Almighty, seeking to make the world a better place. But there are also opposing forces which are looking to give us immediate, gratifying, physical pleasure and comfort. What you refer to as naturally programmed to do something is really saying that is where my yetzer hara, my evil inclination, i.e. my base physical instinct or my physical desires would feel at home, would feel comfortable. If there was no morality and there was no elevated seichel, elevated thought process of internal awareness of morality, which is that which tells a person that it's wrong naturally to kill. Even if I've never read the Torah before, it seems wrong, right, to just kill your a human being, right? If a person doesn't have that, then they'd be living in that level of existence, Boris. Okay? So,
Which many people do live in that.
and some people do live in that, yeah, for lack of better knowledge, or because they're turning the other cheek. They're looking the other way. They're refusing to confront the reality. And it's not hard to see that living one's life in that path doesn't lead to where a person really wants to go. I'll give you an example, right? What's the best physical feeling you can possibly experience? Some people might answer me it's sex. Some people might answer me that it's a good steak, a good food, a good sleep. It's something physical, right? But if that physical action is being done solely for the sake of giving me physical gratification, right? How good and elevated does that leave one feeling? Doesn't really leave one feeling energized. Yet what we're looking for is something that's going to give us, let's call it kilojoules of positivity, okay? Calories or kilojoules, kilowatts of positivity. Does eating a massive burger after another, back to back, just to add drama, okay? Does eating a massive tomahawk at Genesis leave you feeling ready to tackle the world? No, it doesn't. You feel like you need a nap and you feel like, oh my God, I just killed myself and now I'm $100 down in the bank. You know, that's what you're thinking. You're thinking like, okay, that was good, but now it's gone, you know? Or after an intimate physical experience with either someone in marriage or, God forbid, out of marriage, where it's not in the context of holiness, because remember, what sets Judaism aside in the topic of intimacy is that we view it as the greatest potential to achieve holiness. Remember, it's not at all a bad thing. It's only a bad thing when it's not done in the realm of the spiritual domain. Remember, we spoke about our existence having one aspect that's looking for the physical comfort, the materialism, the instant gratification, and there's a side that wants us to connect to something greater than ourselves. There's a side of us that really, truly, deeply wants us to change for the better, to become more wholesome people, to become the best human beings that we can be at work, in our jobs, for our spouses, for our children, for our future children, for the world around us. We want to be incredible people, right? So, does one feel energized when one undergoes that experience, when it's not done in that context and realm? If yes, that's the exception. It's not the norm, huh?
Mostly not.
Mostly not, because it's not. You're not seeking it. That's not what you're seeking. And you're not going to experience elevation if that's not the reason why you're seeking that pleasure, right? But there's nothing wrong with having pleasure. You have to understand, the world is pleasurable for a reason. That pizza was delicious. There was nothing wrong about that pizza that we just enjoyed. What did that pizza do for us? Okay, first of all, that pizza got you guys to come here. Right? I'm just joking. But that pizza, we washed, we made a bracha, thanking Hashem. We paused to think about the fact that we have an ability to attain holiness. We made a bracha on the pizza. The bracha on the pizza was a temporary pause and acknowledgement that there is someone looking out for us, that's giving us a direct gift of nourishment. Where did the pizza come from? It ultimately draws its source from the earth, and the earth was created by Hashem. After we're done the pizza, somebody please remind me, we're going to do a nice Birkat Hamazon together. We're going to thank Hashem for the food that He's given us. That was a pleasurable physical experience, both physical, that's also left us feeling elevated. So it's all in how you do it.
But it's also, I think, you need to appreciate even stuff that you don't like. When you have bad experience, you still need to appreciate and understand that maybe it was meant to be like that because this is how God planned.
Yeah, it still comes from Hashem.
100%. That's not mutual. That's not exclusive to what I was saying. Meaning, when you experience difficult moments, yeah, of course they are there for us to grow for them, 100%.
No, I mean,
I think the difficult times are.
yeah, in the difficult times, it's hard to say thank you. Or
I think the difficult times are more so from God, not more from God, but like
You pay attention
easier to
more
see
when
the
it's hard.
connection. You pay more attention, but like, okay, so we have food, but like, fine, there are people starving, but like, nobody here really starves. We have food. Like, it's harder to see that comes from when you have a difficult time. It's personal. Like, if you have a difficult time, doesn't mean everyone else is having the same difficult time.
Of course.
Unless it's like a thing that affects the whole community.
Right.
Isn't
Now,
very often.
it's funny because
Easier to see the connection with
it's
God.
funny because I remember my Rebbe saying something very eye-opening. He said that, like Chaim was saying, that every difficulty that we have in life, if it's health, if it's livelihood, if it's relationships, it's there for us to awaken ourselves, to come closer to God, and to do something to change ourselves for the better. And that is God's way of giving us a hint. Okay, I remember reading in a book that there used to be prophets in the world, and you could go to a prophet and ask the prophet, can you tell me what is the source of my soul, of my neshama? What is my potential? What am I meant to do in this life, in this world? What can I do to achieve my potential? And you can imagine things were a lot easier. You just go to the prophet. The prophet tells you exactly what you need to know. Now, what happened? There was a tremendous challenge the Jewish people had throughout the generations with idol worship, to the point where they showed up to the rabbis and they said, "Rabbis, we're not handling this challenge. We need the idols out of here." So the rabbi said, "Okay, listen. There's always a balance of the forces of purity and the forces of impurity in the world. If we take away the impure forces of idolatry, we're going to have to also take away from the pure forces of prophecy." The question then is that if the pure forces of prophecy are gone, we are shortchanged. How now are we able to determine our potential and purpose in life? We don't have a prophet there to tell us exactly what to do and how to do it. So this rabbi that I read in his book explained that what took the place of prophets ever since prophecy ended was, and still is, suffering. Anytime we go through a difficulty, it's a chance to stop, analyze our life, reflect, and ask ourselves, is there something I could be doing better? Is there something I could be doing that will make me a more elevated person, a better Jew? Is there something I could be doing? It could be in Shabbat. It could be in kosher. It could be in relationships. There's so many ways, small incremental things that we could be doing to help ourselves. But my rabbi said something yes.
Let me understand you right.
Yes.
You say when people going through tough times, it means that they're doing something wrong in their life, in their Jewish life, and they need to be doing something better than what.
Yes or no, but either way, it's an opportunity to grow. Yes or no. We don't ultimately know always why bad things happen to good people. God has His way of determining why those things happen. We never claim to know what's in God's plans, how and why God does it. Sometimes years later you can understand, oh, now I understand why this happened to that person or this happened to me. Sometimes God gives you a glimpse of why the picture is the way it is and why things happened. But not always will you have the answers.
Sometimes bad things happen to you and you question it and question why it's happening to you. You get depressed and whatever, and then if you can, you do what you can to get yourself out of the bad situation. You find you're in a much better place than you were before the bad thing even happened, only because that bad thing happened.
Well, does anyone ever think about what they could be doing better when things are going well?
No.
No, that's the point.
That's exactly what I was about to say, is that a person has the potential, according to this idea, to stop bad things happening to him if, instead of waiting for those bad things to wake him or her up, you self-propel yourself to make these incremental changes to become a better person and to elevate yourself, both as a person and in your Judaism. You can preempt negativity by achieving its purpose on your own. All right? Now, there are some things in life that are in our control, and there are some things that are not in our control. I feel when I look at the world, I see that a lot of people out there in positions of power, and even not in positions of power, they are really they seem to be of the understanding that they have the ability to control everything. You hear the way people talk about what to do in business, what to do to prevent cancer, what to do for relationships. Sure, there's a lot of wisdom in some of what people say and write about, but there's also this idea that it's up to God. It's called hashgacha. It's one of those things that we are obligated to believe in as Jews. It's one of Maimonides' 13 principles of faith, that not only is there a God that created the world, but God is actively running the world. So that means is that God determines every year, starting Rosh Hashanah, what's going to be my health, what's going to be my livelihood, right? What's my family going to look like? What's my community going to look like? Okay? How long am I going to live? What's my intellect going to be like? What's my environment going to be like? Now, that doesn't mean that you can't positively influence all of those categories. You could go to the gym. You could eat healthy. You could go to college and send out your resume and do the best you can to lead a healthy life and to get a good livelihood, with the realization that ultimately it's really up to Him. It's up to Hashem, right? The living life with that attitude solves a lot of problems, okay? And even though that's not why we live life with that attitude, the ultimate reason why we have to be living life with this attitude is because of a real belief that our people, thousands of years ago, en masse, had a revelation of God at Mount Sinai, and God gave us that Torah, and that Torah is there for us to connect, etc., etc., etc. That should be enough of a reason. But besides for that reason, this is enough of a reason, going back to the beginning of our discussion, of how to live a life where we're constantly positive, where we're constantly emotionally healthy. Are you following where I'm going with this? This idea that there are certain things out of my control is potentially one of the most empowering things ever. Gives you the most control, because then you realize that, okay, I'm doing my best. I'm eating right. I'm studying hard. I'm trying. The rest is up to Hashem. The bad news, which is really the good news, is that there is one thing that is in your control. And the only person after 120 years that can be blamed for not achieving X is you. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, and that is your level of closeness to God. The only thing that's in your control is how much you decide, we decide as individuals on our own level to make free will decisions in our lifetime to become better people. There's many ways to become better people. As the people that God chose to give the Torah to, we have a huge capacity to become tremendous people. What were you going to ask?
No, I didn't want to ask. I just want to comment.
Sorry, yeah, comment.
Yeah. When you said that with the time there were prophets and they were told us what to do and what not to do, what's our purpose in life. So you said when the prophecy were gone, the mistakes or the bad thing that happened to a person are leading him to understand where he should go in life. I'm just trying to emphasize it better. I think for me it's more look of like a long run. If you stumble on a stone, doesn't mean that you need to stop running and go back or just change direction. It just means that you need to back up on your feet and keep going, even if bad stuff is happening to you or you have.
For sure, but my only point to counter that a little bit is that, if you're doing a mistake often enough, then you're the one that's foolish for not changing. So if there's something that's not working, you're the only one that's losing out, meaning I like the idea of just keep getting back up. That's an idea that's very prominent out there. They make a point of that in movies, in songs, in culture, and it's a beautiful concept. The question is that, are you changing in the long run? If all I'm training myself to do is get up, good. I've gotten up, but I'm still bothered. I'm still falling. Good, I got back up, and I'm falling and I'm getting back up. I'm falling. Stop falling. Stop falling. How do you stop falling? That's what we're discussing. What can you do to make that a thing of the past? Got it? Yeah.
So I read somewhere about how you got to keep getting tested the same way until you pass the test.
Yeah.
So if you keep tripping over rocks, it's because you're not looking down.
Yeah. That works well.
Right? So you get up, right?
Yeah.
And you keep tripping until you look down. And then once you learn to look down, you don't worry about the rocks anymore. And then you get your next test.
Or the Wiley, is that what you were saying? The Wiley, the ostrich and the wolf in the cartoon. What's it called? Wile E. Coyote. He goes off the cliff, and only when he realizes that he's in the air, he starts falling down. Roadrunner. Sorry, Roadrunner. Okay, so this is very empowering. It's so liberating to go through life with the idea that there are things that are in my power. There are things that are not in my power. I'm going to do the best I can. And whatever I end up with is exactly what I need. Whatever I have materially, whatever I have health-wise is a gift. Every dollar, every heartbeat, every ice, every moment that I can see, that I can hear is a gift. Now that I have understood that, let me go out and do what is in my control to achieve the greatest pleasure possible. And that is spiritual pursuit. And you know what? God is so great that he gave us a means to also achieve spiritual pursuit in the physical realm. And you know what it is? Happens one day a week. Shabbat. What do you think Shabbat is? Shabbat is the most pleasurable physical experience the world has to offer. No phones. No computers. No ding. No WhatsApp. No Facebook. No text messaging. No emails. No television. No movies. No TV shows. Nada. Just you, your family, your friends, God. It's like Danielle was saying, a time to connect. If I had to define Shabbat in one word, connect. Oh, wow. Isn't God tough on us? The way to connect to him is by enjoying a good meal without distractions. Isn't that crazy? He made it so easy for us. Sometimes it's hard. Abraham was asked to try to sacrifice his son. That was tremendously difficult. We all have tremendously difficult tests in our life. For example, someone comes over to you at work or at home and says something so obnoxious, so wrong. And your heart is telling you, oh my God, I am going to either physically strangle this person or really verbally put this person in their place. Now, personally, I was never one of those people that knew exactly how to put those right words, but I always somehow came across those people myself. Like, you know, those people that know exactly what to say that's going to like touch at the worst runner. I'm like, well, you don't smell so good. You know, that's like what I answer. You know that scene in Mighty Ducks where like, you know, there's that like wimp guy on the team that's like trying to be like Mr. Bully and he has no idea what to say. That is a moment of growth. The greater the challenge, the greater the difficulty in overcoming a challenge, the greater chance you have to grow. When you have an interaction with someone extremely obnoxious and difficult, and you allow your emotions to settle, and you think about the fact that this is the fact that he has come across you and has said this is out of your control. You didn't bring this to you. It came to you. Does that mean that you are out of free will? Anybody? Yes or no? Are you out of free will when someone is attacking you?
No.
You all agree with me. You all agree with me. You are not out of free will. Thank you. Right? So, but it takes preparation. It's a muscle. It's a muscle that has to be trained, right? I am not going to react negatively. I am going to think about how I'm going to respond, and I'm going to respond the way I think Hashem would want me to respond? How would an elevated person respond? How would an elevated person respond to this scenario? That's what we're in control in. Unfortunately, in the world, people think they're in control of what they're really not in control of. And people are losing control where they ought to have it. And living life like that is causing the world to be full of people that have it backwards. And that's why they're not finding that inner meaning. They're not finding that inner simcha, that inner joy. Because the source of that joy is the work, like one of you said. You have to feel like you're working on elevating yourself for there to exist that internal satisfaction. Right? But if you're after anything but, then it's eluding you. It's avoiding you. Questions?
I think that most of the time what happens when a situation like that, when someone comes to you and he tells you something bad,
Slippery slope. It's really easy going there.
Just the way to see it is that if you see that Hashem brought that to you, He made it happen. That this is Hashem, the one that is in front of you, doing this to you. If you're able to perceive it that way, then you can actually be able to overcome that. But if you don't see that as an opportunity for you to overcome, because Hashem brought it to you, then that's when you're not going to grow and you're going to get stale.
Right. Now, this brings me to possibly the most important point that I want to make in this class. And that is the point of free will. Many of you remember I spoke about this a couple months ago. It shouldn't eternally be for a person's entire lifetime that they are, right? Hey! It's funny, no? A person's struggles should not. How does a person know if they're doing well? What's the barometer? Remember we started the class talking about the 70-year-old bickering couple, okay? All right, right? Now, the way to know, okay, who listens to awkward music? The way to know, the barometer, the way to know if what you're doing is right is if you are still finding yourself struggling with these challenges. What that means is something that has bothered you when you were 10 years old is still bothering you at 20. Something that bothered you at 25 is still bothering you at 40 or 45 that you're struggling with. Free will means that every time I master my evil inclination, every time I have a choice to stay home and watch who knows what, or do who knows what, or come to a talk class, every time I'm coming and choosing spirituality and elevation over base physicality, I'm empowering myself and raising myself and making it less of a challenge. Whether you will admit to this or not, I guarantee you that every single one of you in the room, the first time you were contemplating coming to a talk class, you were probably nervous. You were probably nervous about the social component, right? Can we close that door? No.
They're getting
Oh, they're leaving the class? Yeah. Right? Huh?
Would it be at the same level though? It's like you're trying to overcome the same thing, but it's not exactly the same. It like
Actually, to be fair, every time I go to a place I haven't been before, half of me is like, do I really want to go?
Right. But look,
the level of awareness changes.
But look, now that you've come and you've enjoyed and it's spoken to you, you're happy to come, even though you know what you might be missing out on. There might be a conflicting event. There might be a TV show. Your friend might have wanted to go out with you. That's not lost on me. And me myself as well. My wife, right? Can we close the door over there? Rishon? going to institute a new rule with Rabbi Wolbe. We are unlocking that door when they're done their class. Huh?
When they're done, they should.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to start telling them to do that because this kind of kills the. Anyway, like me too, right? It takes work to prepare a class. It takes work to deliver a class. At the end of the day, I'm also tired. My wife is working all day at the school. It's time that we could otherwise be, enjoying each other's company, So there's a sacrifice. But when thank you so much, David, right? Learning consideration in life, right? Hopefully, right? That's an important thing for us all to pick up, hopefully by a certain age, right? 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 But, right? Yeah, I'm being tough tonight, right? But, so you have to imagine a bar. You have to imagine a bar. Life is about climbing the bar. Your free will has a point, and every time you make a free will decision that elevates you and that takes you the next level up, you're elevating that point. When you're elevating that point, what that means is that something that was a challenge for you down here should no longer be a challenge. It's easier for you to do this now that you've raised your point, but now you have different challenges to deal with. We each have our bar line. We each have our life. We each have our own individual points of free will, and our goal in life is to lift and bring that up constantly throughout our day. Throughout our day, we have instances where this is challenged. In work, when you're eating, when you're with your families, there is no shortage of opportunities and experiences where we encounter this struggle of body and soul, right? This is the definition of holiness. It doesn't sound like we've been discussing about holiness, but everything we've been discussing tonight, is all about holiness. If you take a look at this book that I told you about, the Mesilat Yesharim, the Path of the Just, he gives you a whole step-by-step process. What's at the end of that process? Holiness. Holiness. We're talking real holiness. Real holiness is using one's intelligence and seichel, one's mind, to make decisions that elevate us over base physicality. That is holiness. People think holiness is something, fluffy, out there that I'm gonna start floating. Nothing to do with floating, right? Holiness is understanding the balance between intellect and instinct. You want to take some pizza? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, with that, whoops. Right? Oh wow, we have a whole pie.
Only pizza.
Wow. Mutilating that pizza. What?
To elevate themselves.
Right.
Your words make them hungry.
What?
Your words make them hungry.
Yeah, I think so, right? Okay, so any questions? That's basically. So what was our original? Statement? Our original statement was raising my bar, using faith to maximize our potential. With everything that we've spoken about tonight, does that give us a little bit of a clearer understanding of where faith comes into reaching our potential? What is my potential? My potential is with my environment, with my health, with my wealth, with everything that's out of my control, with everything that God has given me in my own puzzle, what can I do in my life to make free will decisions that are going to make me a more elevated person? And that is where faith comes in. That's where our Jewish faith comes in, is that our Jewish faith, by praying to God, by observing Shabbat, by keeping kosher, by involving ourselves in chesed, in kindness, by visiting the sick, by honoring our parents, by being a light onto the world, by working on our relationships, by having beautiful families, by connecting with each other, by spreading the light of Hashem in the world, all of those things are there in our faith, in the Torah, for us to be the best human beings we can be, which means get as high on our own individual totem pole as we can. Just spending our life making more and more free will decisions that are making us more and more elevated. And you noticed what I said is that it's not one bar for all. Everybody has their own bar. You have no business looking or caring what someone else's struggles are, right? The Torah says, Al tadin et chavercha ad shetagia limkomo. Don't ever judge someone else until you've reached their place. Let me ask you a question. When will you ever reach someone else's place? Never. In other words, you have no business ever bothering yourself with, why is someone the way they are? Why don't I have what they have? Everything you have is exactly what you need. Everything you have is exactly what you need. It's the most beautiful thing ever. The earlier we come to terms with our lack of control for those things, which shouldn't belittle our due diligence in helping ourselves. We still need to exercise. We still need to eat healthy. We still need to work and do the best we can to help ourselves. That was part of the curse of Adam. By the sweat of your brow shall you eat bread, right? But at the same time, that's not the goal of life. The goal of life is not for a person to go to work, make money, and die. And I'm sorry to be blunt when I say that, but life is so much more than that. We work in order to be able to stay alive in this world, to fulfill something greater than that. Okay? Working itself is a mitzvah if it's being done to sustain a family, to sustain yourself, in order to be able to involve yourself in spiritual pursuit. Tzedakah, charity, using that money for good, that's all great, great things. As long as it's within that realm of that objective. And hopefully my blessing to all of us is using this core fundamental ideal, okay? We can really aim in our lives. We're all still young. We have a long life to live, but we have to get with the program, right? Every minute is ticking. Every day that's gone is a day that's never going to come back, right? I think they did a study. They asked people, would you like to see if you had a chance to see your timeline, would you want to see it? And most people said no. If you could see how far in your life you've gone, the end of your life, and the bar slowly moving, people would not want to see that. But
you're talking about
Facebook. 5
Yeah.
minutes.
what?
Yeah, because Facebook definitely represents how's it going in life.
What do you mean?
They even point. They have a mark.
Oh, timeline. You see how we've gone in this world? We're thinking of Facebook timeline. I happen to like my Facebook timeline. No, I'm just
Yeah, I didn't see any baby just born and took a selfie. It just brought here.
yeah, right. Thank you, George. He said, "Well said, Rabbi," on Facebook. I don't know what he was talking about, but it's something I must have said. So what was that? Yeah. So to think that our life is limited. It's not something that we just think about and then we go home. My friends, take something out of this class, and I'm speaking to myself just as much. Think about where you're going in life and how you're doing and where you are on your scale, and make a decision, a free will decision, to start, if you haven't already, making incremental steps to elevate your point of free will and maximize and realize your potential. May Hashem give all of you much success in achieving tremendous joy, emotional comfort and stability, success in all of your relationships, and just awesomeness, greatness. Yes. Amen.
I have a question regarding every Shabbos we're reading before, the Shacharit, they have a couple of filot. Now there's a part over there that says, Machshavot Rabot Belev Ish.
Ba'atzat Hashem hi takum.
Now it's actually connecting to what you said, because you said that when people aim
Rabot
higher-
Machshavot Belev Ish. There are many thoughts in man. And Boris, I want to hear what's funny after. Ba'atzat Hashem hi takum. but it is ultimately that which God wants that will be established. Meaning, we may want this, we may want that, we may want that, but ultimately it's up to
But
Hashem.
that's why I say Atzat Hashem. It means that God's will. If God wants you to go to Shacharit, what God wants you to do more
You
mitzvahs,
still got to play your role.
of course you're gonna play your role. But you might have thought that, oh, I'm planning to win the lottery this year.
The closer you are to Hashem, the more closer you are to His desire and the way He wants for
Yeah.
your life.
Exactly. That's
You
what
want to
I
laugh, Chaim? And I'm sure you've heard this before. When I was a chatan, when I was engaged, we had classes with the rabbi, and the rabbi divided into a whole curriculum. And one of the last classes, he was saying, life with children. So that class was talking about what marriage life is like once a new player comes onto the scene, right? The baby, right? The baby. So we were joking with him, and we're like, "Are you talking about like who wakes up in the who wakes up in the middle of the night when the baby's crying?" So the rabbi answered, "No, it's very clear who gets up. Rabot machshavot belevish. Man has many thoughts. V'atzat Hashem, but God's will, he takum. She gets up, right? But then you can rephrase that to mean V'atzat Hashem, he takum, right?
It's depending where you put
Depending where you put the comma.
Well, what is it? How does it translate? If it's the second.
That the second way is that the advice of God is you get up, meaning you masculine, you get up. All right, everyone. So yes, as Marcia Schwartz says, when we plan, and God laughs. Right? There's a term in Yiddish, a Mensch tracht und Gott lacht. And I don't speak Yiddish, so don't ask me how I know what that means. Right? A man plans, right? A man works and plans, and God laughs. Right?
The best laid schemes of mice and men.
What?
Of mice and men.
Mice and men?
Of mice and men.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't mean the novel. I mean
Yeah.
You literate people who read the book
poem
know.
that the novel is based on.
Yeah.
The best laid schemes of mice and men go.
All right, everyone. So we're going to do Birkat Hamazon together. Rishon, can I ask you a favor?
Yeah.
Can you go find it for me? You see, it's at the top over the sink. One of those cupboards has a bunch of blue benchers, and we will. No, I don't know if you need a chair.
It's not my bar.
It's in one of those. What do you want? Okay. Maybe check on the left here. Yair, תעזור לו למצוא את הברכונים. הנה. Maybe bring a few more. Thanks. Thank you very much. Everybody, you ready to do to bench?
So the thing I was laughing about is a long time ago I went to see this shrink, and he said,
Should I turn off Facebook Live?
if you want.
Let me turn it off.
I don't